Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
Evening. Buyer's remorse. Buy a new car? I'll be moving in. Let's get started.
Sorry, I think there's been a mistake. I bought it from Carvana.
You what?
Yeah, great price. I even have 7 days to love it or return it.
So there's no...
No buyer's remorse. More like buyer's rejoice.
I guess I'll let myself out. Congratulations. I mean it.
Buyer's rejoice. Buy your car today on Carvana.
Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning, a football Friday. All right, we don't have games, but we got a ton of coaches talking football, so we're going to count it as a football Friday. We've got Utes, we got Cougars. We're going to start with the University of Utah. We're going to start with a guy who I think is really interesting, Chad Bumphis. Now, Chad played at Mississippi State, tried the NFL, was on some practice squads, Dolphins, Broncos, Jaguars, launched the coaching career in 2016, was a graduate assistant for Utah in 2018. He was the Utes wide receiver coach in 21 and 22, went to Mississippi State to coach where he played, and now he is back. Getting turned this receiver group into something more than it has been for more than a decade now. Maybe going back to that 08 group, that was a pretty potent group of guys. Here's Chad Bumphis talking with the media.
Coach, you recently said this is the deepest wide receiver room you've ever been a part of. How do you sort through that? What are you looking for in your guys to sort, how to feed the room?
Yeah, it's a good problem. Got a lot of guys that can play, a lot of talented guys that deserve to be on the field. So camp will work itself out, right? We'll go through camp, see who continues to make plays, who continues to grow every day, and we'll make a decision as a staff at how we rotate the guys. There's going to be a lot of guys that play, but it's just a matter of how we get them on the field, what position we put them in so they can be successful.
Obviously, you guys are only 2 practices in, but who, from your assessment, has made the biggest jump from spring till now?
The first name that jumps out is Tobias. I didn't get to see him in spring, so this is the first time I've seen him play football. I know what he is off the field. He's been a great leader for us, but to see him on the field run and actually make those plays has been awesome. Nate Johnson's done a really good job. Creed's making strides, taking steps. So, again, it's a competitive room. I feel like if you don't take those steps every day, you get left behind. And coming out of the summer, that's what I've heard from the strength staff. They're all competitive. They all work. So we're excited about all of them. But Tobias is the first name that jumps off just because I've never got to see him play.
You have a lot of guys in the offense that are kind of Swiss Army knife kind of dudes. You mentioned Nate Johnson. I'm sure Bird will be doing a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Just obviously when you have a packed wide receiver room, how do you also find ways to utilize those other guys out on the perimeter that have multiple skill sets like a Nate Johnson or a Bird or et cetera?
Yeah, again, the more you can do, right? You have guys that can obviously play in the slot, play out wide, but you also have guys who, the Creeds, the Nates, you can line them up in the backfield and whether you're handing them the ball, letting them throw it a little bit. But, again, the more you can do, and, again, we just go out throughout the entire fall camp and, figure out what each guy can do, how can you add value, how can you make yourself valuable. And, again, the more you can do, the easier it is to get on the field in a loaded room.
Devin took a lot of the wide receivers down to Arizona with him to train. How important is that for you as a coach to be able to see somebody like that? And is that rare for a quarterback to do something to that level to help the connection with the receivers?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been more of an NFL thing, but it just goes to the buy-in, right? They all want to be successful. They all want to make plays for us. So just to see them all get together, and again, it's their vacation month, right? So a lot of guys are hanging out, but they took it upon themselves. They wanted to go out and get some work and get better. So all for it, man. I love it. And again, it just shows that this is important to us. We want to win. We want to be one of the top offenses in the country. So it takes that, especially with some of the option routes we do. That takes a lot of off-season work, right? You got to be on the same page with the quarterback. So taking that ownership and doing it on your own is huge for us.
Since returning to campus, what have you seen from Zipper?
I love Zip. Zip's good. Zip is very, very twitchy. He has great hands. Zip's biggest thing right now is just making sure he can stay healthy, right? Because when he's full go, he's one of the best guys in that room, and you've seen it here. That's his biggest thing right now. I love having Zip around. He's a football player, right? He just gets it. He understands it. And he's one of those guys that just wants to do well. So excited for him. Just got to get him healthy and keep him healthy. And we should be able to see Zip make some plays.
As a receivers coach, what do you like about Kevin McGibbon's offense?
It's wide receiver friendly. Again, if you can create separation, if you can go out and win your matchups, you're going to get a ton of looks, right? You're going to be put in positions to do things that we've seen you consistently do well over time. And again, he's going to find ways to get those guys the ball in space. And now it's about just going out being special. Do what's got you to this point, right? We're going to put you in places where there's mismatches. You have the matchup advantage. Go beat the guy across from you, and let's go make plays.
There's Utah wide receivers coach Chad Bumphis. Let's switch to the other side of the ball and hear from Utah's new defensive coordinator, the former linebacker coach, now running the entire defense, Colton Swan.
Morgan was talking about how he's maybe not, looking over your shoulder, and you have, the freedom to put your own spin on the defense. Well, it's still going to be a, kind of scale of Utah defense. What are kind of the spins that you've put on it so far?
Well, without getting into exact details, each coordinator has our own ways of doing things and liking things. There's different coverages and run fits that we apply and the way that we like things. So without, like I said, giving you too much in detail, we all we're doing some pretty cool stuff, and I think our guys are really buying into what we got going. This defense has been in place for a long time here at the University of Utah and has been very good. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind as a coordinator is if it's working and it is providing very good production and it's not broken, then don't try to fix something that's not broken. So as a coordinator, you got to be smart with that, but at the same time, you want to have your own spin on things and really looking for ways to improve things where things maybe broke down in the past.
You've got a lot of talent on the defensive side, but there's a lot of competitions in many position groups. As a defensive coordinator, how are you balancing trying to get guys there as fast as you can so that you can get those set versus just trying to make sure that you do it right and trying to get the right guys in the right spot?
Yeah, you got to be creative as a coordinator for sure, because you can have a plethora of guys in different positions that can all play, and getting your best 11 out there is definitely something that you're always constantly thinking of because it is all about the players. It's all about them over scheme. And so you got to be creative, find different ways to utilize that. And to constantly be massaging your personnel. But I do know this so far in camp, through 2 practices, it's been extremely competitive with those that you're mentioning and how talented we are on the defensive side, which is a good thing. It makes it harder on us as coaches figuring out which ones are going to play, but we definitely got a good problem going on.
I'm going to ask you something not related to football. You talked a little bit about just cattle wrestling. I think it's cattle wrestling.
Steer wrestling or bulldogging.
You've lost a couple of teeth doing that.
Yeah.
Walk me through the background of how you got into that, and how often are you going back to Idaho to do some steer wrestling?
Let's see. I went back 4 times, but actually the 4 times that I went back this summer in the month of July, I took my kids. All right, so I can show you a pretty cool picture. Let me show you my daughter here. I'll show you my daughter on this picture right here. And this is what we do as kind of our entertainment in Idaho. Okay, this is her. Okay, on riding a sheep, right? She's 5 years old and she gets what we call scorpioned, right? So she's getting bent over backwards right there, and that's me in the background, kind of yelling at her or encouraging her, right, as if you will. So that's kind of how I got into it, doing stuff like that. Just kind of grew up in that world. We were large cattle ranchers in Idaho, And, my grandpa actually, who was a quarterback here at the University of Utah, he was an All-American, and he played here right before World War II, okay? And he was drafted by the Chicago Bears. His name's actually out in the trophy room, believe it or not. Not a lot of people knew that about me and the University of Utah, but he played here, and my uncle played here as well. But Grandpa was drafted by the Bears and went on to get drafted by the Navy and served in World War II. So he graduated from University of Utah with a law degree, and he came back from war, and my grandma thought that they were going to live the good life, the country club life, being lawyers and all that good stuff, and Grandpa bought a ranch. And so they went on to be ranchers and moved to Idaho, and it's all been cowboying and football ever since. So, yeah, my dad played at Utah State, like I said, my grandpa, and my uncle played here at University of Utah. My brother played at Utah State. My other brother played at Boise State. And so it's football and cowboying. And we just grew up that way, and it's kind of a way of life. You don't ever move away from it. It's awesome. I actually think it teaches you a lot about toughness and endurance and just the way that life really is, the hard way, and not cowering down to stuff that adversity that can become difficult. So that's a long answer. Sorry.
You're good. I'm sorry to ask that.
No, that's my passion right there, man.
Coach, Cyrus Bowler's received a lot of praise for different things. Just what does he have to do to continue to earn your trust and potentially carve out a role this season?
Man, there's not much there because he's got a lot of trust from me, but he is continuing to prove to not only myself but his teammates and Coach Scally and the rest of the coaching staff that he's very productive. He's an extremely good player. He's got a great attitude, and he's had a really good spring. And now moving into fall camp, he's just kind of taken off from there even more. So really excited about him. He's in a nice little battle with other really good linebackers, and to refer back to the question earlier, finding ways to be creative as a coordinator and finding these ways to get these good players on the field. So excited about him.
How do you feel like Troy Reynolds has improved from the end of last season going into this year?
Man, Trey Reynolds is a rock. He's been a rock ever since he's been here. He is steady. He is a guy that does everything right. He's extremely productive. When he was on the field last year and years in past, he's been, whether it's special teams or defense, he's been a very, very productive player. And there is not a guy on the team that will outwork Trey Reynolds. He is exactly who you want when you're recruiting guys, ones that do not shy away from that hard work. And he's had a great fall camp. He's taken over as a leader in the room. He's very compelling, meaning bringing a lot of the players not only in the linebacker room but defensively along with him. And he's awesome. So excited for him and what we're gonna do with him.
One more for Zay.
Yesterday, Jono said that it makes his job a million times easier if the defensive tackles in front of him are, eating one or two blocks. Just how have you seen the defensive tackle room grow from the end of spring to now?
It's so far it's been great. I mean, in two practice, you see exactly what we want out of that group, and that was them and the DBs. A lot of turnover in there and new guys coming in, so it was a question mark going into spring, and you've seen nothing but growth and development from those guys, and it's continued so far. You can tell that they've had a great summer in the weight room, that they've done a great job in the video room, and it helps us as linebackers if we got a front four in front of us that can allow us to do some cool stuff linebacker wise, but it also helps in the back end with putting pressure on the quarterback. And so the D tackles are doing a fantastic job and are going to continue.
All right, there's Colton Swan and some football for all you Ute fans. For you Cougar fans, stick around. Kelly Poppinga is coming up. So is Brett Ciancia. We'll get to Brett next from Pick 6 Previews. Good job on the Big 12. We'll talk Big 12 football with him next. Stay with us. Brett Ciancia joins us now from Pick 6 Previews. Brett, good morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me on. It's a busy time of year here with Pick Six previews. The 2026 magazine is rolling off the printing press, shipping across the country, and we have a lot to break down. So excited to be back on with you guys, talking some BYU, talking Big 12.
Yep. Utah and BYU fans are listening, and they are curious, where do you believe they stack up? Obviously, new coordinator on the defensive side of the ball at BYU, and the Utes with Kyle Whittingham leaving. That's a major change. Morgan taking over. What do you think? Where do they stack up in the Big 12? Who are they? Who's right there with them?
Well, I think it's Texas Tech at the top. They're the defending champions, and I was surprised to see it at Big 12 Media Days. The coaches didn't pick Texas Tech to win it. Maybe that's some off-the-field politicking going on, but in terms of talented rosters, I think you got to start with Texas Tech. We all saw it last year, 11-1 in the regular season. All 11 wins were by double digits. And if you track against the spread kind of stuff, they were unbelievable there, 11-1. The markets couldn't catch up to them, how dominant they were. So very solid season last year. They bring a lot back. They reloaded again from the transfer portal, too, along that defensive line. That's the one question I've got. You send an all-time pass rush to the pros, all 4 guys drafted. But Joey McGuire claims he brought 4 new draft picks in. So we'll see if that's true along the defensive line. But really talented team. I have them number 1 in the conference, projected to go win it again. But then you've got the 2 Utah teams right there, 2-3. I've got them BYU second, Utah third, both in my top 25. And tell you what, guys, if you want an expanded playoff, you're going to basically get a playoff game there November 7th in Salt Lake City, because I think Utah is going to come in with a nice record, and same with BYU, and that could be for the spot against Texas Tech.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I would have gone with Texas Tech, too, in my mind, in our little unofficial polls that we do. They've done enough, and I saw Hammond go to Rice Eccles and look great as the quarterback. So, and now he's got, I know he got injured and didn't get an opportunity to play that much, but he's got more experience in terms of knowledge, and I like him. So, in my mind, the question is, for the rest of the Big 12, and you've already brought up the 2 locals, is who is closing the gap, if they are, if any, and how much are they closing it? Because you've got to close that gap with Texas Tech, and obviously they've got the financial wherewithal to be able to do that. You know, we were told that last year BYU's NIL budget was akin to what Texas Tech paid that defensive line, meaning the defensive line for Texas Tech got all the money that is BYU's entire NIL budget. Oh. So financially, It's going to be hard. And that was reaffirmed to us again this year when we were there in opening day of media availability and practice. So that's going to be hard. But do you think that any of these teams, and you've already mentioned a couple, so I assume you think maybe that BYU and Utah, but speak to that. How can these teams, are they closing the gap between them and what Texas Tech is doing?
Yeah, well, I think both the teams we talked about, BYU and Utah, they played them tough for the first half and then into the second half as well. I was down there in Lubbock for the first matchup last year, the Texas Tech BYU College Game Day game, and BYU was physical right there with them. There was a lot of red zone wins for them to keep the score in check, but there's a lot of work I think they have to do on the skill positions at receiver. That's one spot I have a question about with BYU, but in general, guys, it wasn't that loud of an offseason in terms of big transfer signings or huge recruiting classes, although it was a nice recruiting class. But, in terms of transfers, there wasn't too many headliners. But what stood out to me with BYU, which was impressive, was the retention piece of this, the bringing your returning starters back, keeping them in Provo. I talked to Coach Kalani Sitake, too, in the preseason for the research for my book, and he harped home on that, too. The player retention, the culture, all those buzzwords. But I think it was 12 guys, 12 BYU players that could have gone to the transfer portal. All 12 returned to Provo. I cover all 68 Power 4 teams. That's very rare to see. Usually you have a couple guys, if not a mass exodus at some places. So that was impressive. That speaks to the culture of BYU. You watch them play, the physicality is certainly there in the trenches, the front seven, the offensive line. That's just how BYU and Utah, to that degree, how those programs have been built. So if you want to close the gap, I think you find it with a second-year quarterback, Bear Bachmeier. You usually see a big gain from first year to second year as a Power 4 starter. remember, he was thrown in as a true freshman with no spring ball. I mean, it was unbelievable that he was able to start with just a few weeks of practice. So I look for a big gain from Bachmeier. You get L.J. Martin back at running back, big offensive line. I like the linebacking core a lot. In fact, I've got them in my national top 15 in terms of units. Love the linebackers. You get Glasgow back, signed arguably the top linebacker in the country with Cade Ulave coming in. So there's a lot of pieces here to like. That's why I've got the number 2. That's why I've got them playing Tech again. And maybe third time's a charm, guys.
Yeah. I'm curious who you think the fourth team might be and who might beat any of these 3 teams, because even one loss somewhere, one surprise might knock you out of that Big 12 title game as those 3 teams scramble for it. TCU plays all of them. Kansas State, maybe we should look at them getting in the title game because they don't play any of the 3 of them. Arizona's got their quarterback back. Houston's coming off a good season. They're in a talent-rich area. They did win a lot of close games last year. I'm just wondering how you analyze this next tier of teams and who might be in the mix with the other 3.
Yeah, well, every year with the preview magazine, there's always seems to be one spot within one of the conferences where it's a log jam of teams, and it's really hard to pick. And this year in 2026, it was this exact spot, the middle of the Big 12, talking from 4th to maybe even 11th, that jam-packed part of the Big 12. All talented teams, all top 40 caliber, and all could push into the top 25 if a couple wins go their way. But I went TCU, and I think this is going against the curve here. I don't see anybody else with TCU this high. I went with them 4th in the conference, 25th nationally on the top 25 board. And what I like about them, it wasn't too much transfer activity. What it was, it's been high school recruiting. Now, if you take Texas and Oklahoma out of the old Big 12 standings because they're no longer in the league, if you look at current Big 12 teams, TCU is the number 1 high school recruiter in 23, in 24, and in 25. So they have this pipeline of high school talent that they've been recruiting, developing, retaining, and now, it might not be the most proven names out there. It's not the incoming All-American transfers, but they have a solid, talented roster. You look at their receiver core, ton of 4-stars there. The pass rush looks elite. And then we'll see about this quarterback, Jaden Craig. But if I had to pick a team to go 4th, I'm going TCU. And I think they play both BYU and Texas Tech. So that could be a little thorn in the sides there during the season. So look at TCU as a team. It'll be a tough challenge. From there, you can make the case for so many. Real quick, you've got Kansas State in a coaching transition season with Colin Klein coming home. Easiest schedule in the league, though. They miss all 3. They miss Texas Tech, miss BYU, miss Utah. With Arizona, I love Fafita, the quarterback, but they lost their elite pass secondary on defense. All 4 guys were drafted, so I think you're going to see a step back from them. And Houston, this is a team we all differ on. I mean, they were strong last year, 10 wins. 7 games were 1-score wins, though. And I don't think that really tends to flip I think it tends to regress year to year. So too tight of margins for me to really call for a run back of a 10-win season. So there you got it. I got TCU 4th. But really, guys, November 7th, I've got it circled. I know everyone in your state on both sides of the rivalry have that date circled. And if you look at Utah's schedule, the way it plays out, it's very backloaded, meaning I think they're going to be 8-0, and I don't think it's a hot take that they should be 8-0 or at least 7-1 heading into that matchup with BYU. So that's going to have title stakes on the board and should be a ranked matchup and all those good things.
Yeah, you know your stuff, Brett. You're all over it. I can't disagree with anything that you've been saying. That's the way we forecast it, particularly with Utah. It does look like there's a decent chance, minimally, that they are 7-1 if you just look at the schedule and you look at the talent that they've got coming back. But that's the thing that I like about the Big 12. The other conferences, particularly the 2 at the top, tend to be a little more predictable, and it's only been just less than a handful of years that this conference in its existence with these teams, but we've had surprises since Utah's only been in, this is going into the 3rd season, obviously, with the Pac-12 schools, and it's been surprising to see teams each year, good or bad. Obviously the Devils got on top out of nowhere, and then people weren't picking BYU last year with the quarterback situation, and they still got to the final. So that's what makes this conference interesting, as opposed to, okay, who's Ohio State going to play in the Big Ten final? Is it going to be Indiana, Oregon, maybe Michigan? I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But for this conference, and maybe Texas Tech has established itself and it's no longer predictable, but it does seem like there could be 3 or 4 surprises, even as we follow this conference with everything we have, knowing that we still leave that open, and you just named 4 or 5 teams. At least for me, and get your thought on it, that's what I like about this conference, is that, we have these educated guesses, I guess, but we're not really sure, and it's more fun that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at recruiting rankings, a lot of the teams are in a similar, group of rankings there. They're bringing in similar talent. The transfer portal has really been the wild card move, because that's where teams can upgrade or downgrade almost instantly and come out of nowhere in shock. I mean, if you look at 2 examples this year, I didn't talk about them, but Arizona State, again, leveraged the portal. They might have as many as 17 transfer starters on their team. So your guess is as good as mine on how that's going to look. If that was a home run, all these players are hits, and that could be a playoff contending team. But if not, they could go 4-8. So teams like that, Oklahoma State, same deal. Their head coach brings up the entire offense from North Texas that led the country in passing and scoring. Right. So you think that offense is set. You're going to see old shootouts again from them. We'll see about the defense. But, yeah, I agree with you. I'm sitting here in Pennsylvania. I'm deep in Big Ten country. But when I watch the Big 12, I really enjoy it. I mean, you have so many different styles of play. I think it's really entertaining football. The lines are close. The games are always one score. They're late fourth quarter games. The fan passion is certainly there, and I don't think it gets enough credit, too. And, you always hear about the big ones like Ohio State and Penn State, but you watch a game that's in Provo or Salt Lake City, literally the camera is shaking on big plays. Like, you can feel the vibration here from your living room. So I have a lot of respect for the fans across the conference. You don't find that in the ACC. You don't see the camera shaking at Wake Forest or Boston College. I don't know if they even have cameras there. So I love this conference. I'm not just saying it because I'm on your show. I've been saying it all off season for years. It's a very interesting, intriguing conference. That's why I went down to Lubbock last year. I had to go see it live. So I want to get out to more. I got to get out to Utah and see a game. But it's a very entertaining brand of football.
Brett Ciancia joining us, Pick Six previews. The conference games, especially the rivalry here, everybody's just on edge, at each other's throats and all that trash talk and all that kind of stuff. But here at the start of the season, with a lot of non-conference games, this has been a one-bid league. And we followed the Pac-12 for years. It was always the knock on it. There was a zero-bid league. They were getting 0 teams into the 14 playoff. Now the Big 12 is getting 1 into the 12-team playoff, and it looks like, the weak sister out of the Power 4. So the question is, can they win either enough total non-conference games that can't be ignored? Can they win a marquee games so they can't be ignored? It doesn't look like there are that many marquee games. Some of them, ASU's biting off a lot going to Texas A&M. That's a massive challenge. Oregon and Oklahoma State. Yikes. That 2 games into the rebuild with a new coach, you're playing the Ducks, so good luck with that. Obviously, BYU Notre Dame, a massive game. Can they clean up on enough of the Utah versus Arkansas where it's just overwhelming? I think the conference has 4 or 5 games against the ACC. I don't think you get a lot of TCU beats North Carolina. But if you win all those games, maybe it adds up to something. What do you think about the ability of the league in September to build a rep and get a second or third team, third seems crazy, into the playoffs?
Yeah, that goes a long way because, perception-wise or whatever metrics they look at, it looks like the SEC and the Big Ten, for whatever reason, they have a head start here. They're getting 2, 3, 4, even 5 the SEC last year teams into the bracket. So for the Big 12 and really the ACC, for that matter, to punch back and earn some more credibility, you got to win those non-conference games. And in BYU's case, you got a big one. You got Notre Dame. This is kind of put up or shut up for the conference, those kind of opportunities. And so Notre Dame's probably the most impressive non-conference game, and it happens to be on BYU's schedule. You mentioned a couple more. I think Baylor plays Auburn. UCF plays, I think, Pittsburgh. And, these are just Power 4 versus Power 4. You want to clean up as many as you can, because at the end of the day, that's all going to be used as firepower for your resume. But I think the best case is, this might sound crazy, but to get 2 teams in the conference, I think you need Tech to pretty much go 12-0. Go into that conference title game looking like a top 5 team in the country, and then have the number 2 team upset them in Dallas, because there you're granted the automatic bid for the team that pulled the upset. So like a BYU, a Utah, a TCU, that'd be an auto bid. And I think a 12-1 Texas Tech would still be a strong enough resume to get in there as a conference runner-up. So it reminds me a little bit of March Madness when you hear about those conference tournaments, the bid stealers, where a team that wouldn't have been in the bracket wins the conference and gets the auto bid. That's kind of, I think, the path for the Big 12 and really the ACC for that matter right now to ensure that you get 2 in the bracket, because we've seen the committee rule against very capable 2-loss teams from these leagues. I mean, BYU, an example last year, 2 losses, both were to Texas Tech. One was in the postseason, and they were held out of the bracket. Miami 2 years ago, similar deal. I think they went 10-2, had a nice resume. They were kept out. So if you lose a second game, I don't trust the committee to value the Big 12 and the ACC. You got to go win that conference auto bid.
Yeah, I think that's a fact. So I wouldn't trust them either. I'm wondering what you think. So much hype. Everything Deion Sanders does is big news, right? And it just doesn't matter because of who he is and his ability as just a magnet for media attention. And last year, the health issue with him was extremely real. There's no question about it. At the same time, they had a crappy team. And so it was going into his 4th season, and he's had 2 crappy teams and 1 decent season. And so for now, it seems like the pressure's on. What do you make of that situation?
Yeah, well, every year is different with Colorado, and actually in past years, I've written up their first draft of their team preview, and then after spring ball, 50 guys leave. I had to just delete the whole page and start over from scratch. It's like unbelievable, the player movement up there. Now, this time around, at least there was no second transfer window, so the players that came in the door in December and January, at least you're getting them to kickoff. So, maybe a little bit of player retention in a way for a couple extra months than usual for Colorado. But that said, it was another top 25 transfer class. That marks 4 straight for Colorado. Maybe they were able to retain them this time around, but they have too many questions for me to be considered a contender. Both lines of scrimmage look, they're question marks for me. I don't see any reason to pick them higher than towards the bottom of the conference. I like the quarterback with Lewis. I think that he makes some good throws, maybe some questionable coaching last year. You saw clips out of media day that they weren't even watching film. Unbelievable to think that in 2026 that was the case, but who knows? So they do have some talented players here and there across the roster, receiver, quarterback, but as a complete starting 22 and then a 2-deep 44, I just don't see it. So until proven otherwise, I've got them down towards the bottom of the conference.
There are multiple teams that went deep into the transfer portal. You've mentioned Oklahoma State, new coach, brings a lot of guys. Iowa State's got a new coach, bringing a lot of guys from Washington State. Rich Rod is going full Deion deep into the transfer portal for his second year on the job at West Virginia. You mentioned Colorado and ASU as well. Are there any teams beyond Texas Tech? Are there any teams that went in the transfer portal where you think there's no way to know, but I got to keep my eye on them because I think there's a pretty good chance this team has come up big in the portal?
Yeah, I think Oklahoma State, you got to start there. It's the team that most of the staff and the players were at North Texas last year and put up top 5 passing numbers, top 5 scoring numbers. You got an NFL quarterback with Drew Mestemaker and bringing everybody with him, bringing his all-conference running back, his receivers, his linemen, and, of course, the scheme that got them there with Eric Morris. And I talked to Coach Morris. I asked him about the transition up from the AAC to the Big 12, and he kind of chuckled and said, hey, I was born in the Big 12. He's got roots here. He's a Texas Tech alum and former coach, and his track record of building elite offenses is unmatched right now. Now we'll see how it translates up. But I love that offense a lot. I think it does translate 1-to-1. I think they're going to be a team that scores 30, 45 points a game. But can they stop anybody? So that's where I have my questions. Look for some old 2010s Big 12 shootouts there in Stillwater, again, like the old days. But, hey, I'll say this, most improved offense in America for sure. They were dead last. They're going to be one of the best this year and should be one of the most improved teams. A 1-11, awful season last year. I think they make a bowl. So not a playoff contender, but certainly one of the most improved from 25 to 26.
All right, this bugs my radio partner, but I'm going to do it anyway. Since you're a Philly area guy, I'm born and raised in North Jersey. A lot of experience in South Jersey. So my Jersey shore of choice is Ocean City. What's yours?
Right next door, Sea Isle City, New Jersey. Yeah, love it. Ocean City, you got Mac and Manco's Pizza.
Oh,
you got the boardwalk.
Here we go.
Yeah, the Music Pier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, great family town. You got the Wonderland over there. So, yeah, that's a classic Jersey boardwalk talk. I'm a one town south of you in CIL. We've got more of a restaurant, maybe a bar scene. No boardwalk, unfortunately. I'd love to get one like that. But, hey, South Jersey Shore, man, the best spot on earth.
I'm with you, Brett.
What is the food that's got the two different names depending on where you're from?
Pork roll or tailored ham?
Yeah. It's lovely. Look at him.
This is awesome. I didn't expect this on Utah radio.
Nobody does.
That's why he does it. That's why he does it. The number of times we've broken down pork roll, I just can't. I don't even have words for it. I went to college to do this.
It's pork roll in South Jersey, Taylor ham in North Jersey. How many times I got to tell you?
About 500,000.
My sister went to Glassboro, which has now been renamed Rowan, but
sure.
I've got my brother, my best man at my wedding, grew up in West Deptford, is in the West Deptford High School Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So I got those roots, and I researched who you are, and you really know your stuff. I got to give you credit. So pump your magazine again, because if it's anything like what you've been saying on the radio, it is certainly worth the time and effort and money to get it.
Oh, thanks so much. Yeah, well, it's called Pick Six Previews. It's available at pick6previews.com. We've got the digital copy, but also the hard copy this year, spiral bound. They're coming off the printing press, shipping them across the country. It's a one-man show. It's all me. I do all 68 Power 4 teams. Talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators, watching spring games. I've got my advanced numbers in the book, but putting it back into a readable format, the narrative, the X's and O's, really the storylines for the season. So, hey, a lot of transfer movement, all these teams. It's a good way to get caught up. Get excited for the season, bring it to the beach, the lake, the couch. But yeah, thanks guys for having me on, and maybe I'll send you a picture down from the shore this weekend.
Very nice.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right, put it up on social media and tag us. This is for Utah. All right, Brett. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
There's Brett Ciancia. When we come back, Kelly Poppinga, defensive coordinator for BYU. Stay with us.
DJ PK, and we are joined by BYU's defensive coordinator.
Kelly, do you look over your shoulder for someone when I say that? Are you used to that title?
No. I've always, like linebacker coach or defensive end coach, but man, when I said defensive coordinator, man, the little weight comes on your shoulders a little bit, but it's been fun. I keep saying it. I got great people around me. It makes the job way more manageable than I thought it would be, and it's been fun. I'm excited.
You're now the first-time defensive coordinator, but it's kind of like Scally up at Utah. You've been training for this for a long, long time. So how much does that give you a level of comfort that even though the title is new, you were special teams coordinator, and then you've been around both sides of the country, different places. Seems like you got a lot of experience as you assume this mantle.
Yeah, no, I've said this from day one. I look back to my playing career with Bronco and my coaching career with Bronco, and then on to Boise State, and then with Kalani the last 3 years, and Jay, I've learned a ton, and I've been well prepared, and I got good guys like that around me that have been and seen and done everything, and so having a guy like Coach Anderson around has been awesome, and learning from him. So to me, it's all about the people that you have around you, and obviously the experience helps, but there's a lot of other experience around us that I think prepares the whole staff to be ready for what's coming.
When I hear people talk about this, and Cougar fans, a lot of them are like, Jay Hill was awesome. We're going to miss Jay Hill. And I think, well, that's true. Yeah. Jay was awesome. He had a great run at Weber State. He had a great, the last 2 years here have been awesome. But I keep thinking, because they're able to promote from within, you've literally had full access to Jay, everything he thought, why he did the things he did, why he regretted some of the things he did that he didn't do. It's kind of an unusual transformation here. It's not a lot of stuff has been lost. You were taking notes. You knew this day could come.
Oh, yeah, and Jay's awesome. I learned a ton from him in 3 years. He was a huge help for me on special teams, too, as well. Really good coach, really good person. I learned a lot from him as far as how to manage people, too, as well, how to manage players. He was exceptional at all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I've told this to everybody, Jay learned it from, at the same time Kalani was learning it. They both learned it from, Gary Anderson, who's in the building with us, and Gary learned it from Kyle Whittingham. And, there's this whole tree, and I feel like I have access to this whole tree. And, Jay and I still talk, and we were out golfing at this Pebble Beach deal, and we were, talking through stuff. And, we didn't sit back and watch, Self-Scout together. We watched it, while he's at Michigan and I was here. And it's funny, we had a lot of the same conclusions from what, could have been better from a year ago, and who played better than we thought, and who could have, maybe played a little bit better. But anyway, it was pretty interesting to just get that feedback when we'd been in separate rooms and kind of came down to the same ideas. But I just think ultimately, like, to have Kalani, to have Gary, to have DeMario Warren, to have Lewis Walker, all these guys have D coordinator experience, and just to have all that around me, I just feel blessed to have a bunch of good people around me.
Okay, I don't want to talk football anymore. I want to talk Pebble Beach. You played Pebble Beach?
Yeah. Kalani, it's something that Lavelle, I think, started about 30 years ago. Oh. And, we were able, Kalani goes every year, so maybe you can get it in with Kalani right there. And a bunch of coaches from around the country go there. You get a foursome. Each coach gets a foursome, and you play 3 courses over a 3-day period. It's a pretty sweet deal, and you end with Pebble Beach on the last day. So, yeah, it was awesome.
All right. Just a little more football here, although we could talk Pebble Beach forever because that's fairly nice perk, dude.
Yeah,
very good perk.
Yeah.
You mentioned DeMario Warren. Remember him at Southern Utah. Southern Utah has some advantages, but they also have a lot of disadvantages, a lot of hills to climb. His time there, like, they were right there with Jay, sharing Big Sky title, playing head-to-head in an NCAA playoff game, and they had tough times after he left. So what is the secret sauce he's got? He's clearly got something because he outperformed what happened right before him, and he outperformed what happened right after him. That dude's got something. What are you seeing?
And there's a reason why I brought him here when I, was with him at Boise State. He did some awesome stuff at Boise State too as well. And very detailed coach, very smart, very intelligent. He's one of those guys that, I think he came from the offensive side. He was a running back, so he had to go through the grinder to be able to learn, what defensive football was all about, coaching the back end and then becoming a coordinator under Ed Lamb and then becoming the head coach and having a lot of success. And so I just think it kind of goes to that same mold I was in, but he was kind of under that Ed Lamb tree for a long time. He was at Southern Utah for 14 years. And so I just think that experience that he has as a coordinator, as a head coach, and then being able to see what he did as a position coach at Boise State, everywhere he's been, he's had results. And I know immediately when he stepped in the room and went through his first position meeting, the guy sat back and was like, they love Jay Hill, but, they listened to this guy talking, his knowledge of the game. I think they were all blown away, like, holy cow, this guy knows the game of football, and he knows coverages, he knows the back end. Not just that part, he knows the front end too as well, which is pretty, that's different for a back end coach to know a lot about the front end. So he's a super smart guy that I just think brings a lot of knowledge to the staff.
You left BYU, was it 2015?
2015 was our last year. 2016 was our first year at Virginia. Yep.
So at that time, I can remember talking to you about what you experienced in Virginia versus here in terms of resources. And you're a guy who speaks his mind, and you said, no, there's more resources over there than there was here, and you laid it out. Now that we're a decade later and we know what happened in December and more resources, just speak to the level of commitment financially and all the things that go into running a big-time program and what you've seen from BYU first time around to where it is now.
Yeah, all you got to do is walk into our weight room and see a complete remodel of our weight room. That's top of the line. This addition was done after Bronco left. And then you look at our nutrition center, we didn't have any of that when we were here before. So the access to the food that these guys have, the access to our sports science, that sports science department's as big as, anywhere in the country. We got Ohio State and other SEC schools, Big Ten schools coming after Skyler, our sports science guy. So, that part of it of just being able to take care of the players with their bodies, their nutrition. There's a sleep part of it too as well. It's not even close. It's night and day. It's honestly 2 different programs. You wouldn't be able to tell the 2 programs side by side. That's how different it is. And just the quality, nothing against the players in the past, but I would say the quantity of the quality, right, is a lot better than what it was. We're deeper and more talented than we've ever been. I think a lot has to do with going into the Big 12 and being able to recruit and have the finances to do all that. But I think they walk in here now and they're like, oh, these guys care about football. Look at their weight room, look at the nutrition, look at all just the access that the players have to a bunch of different resources. It's night and day from where we were, 10 years ago, independent with Bronco.
And what about night and day from a year ago? Because obviously that process with Penn State, it was a lot of money, and it's not just about a salary for the head coach. It's not just about a salary for the assistants, the staff, everything. How does the program move forward because of the discussions that happened last December?
Yeah, obviously there was a lot of resources committed to Kalani, and there was, a lot of discussions there that, he wanted to make sure our players had. And ultimately for him, which I really respect about Kalani, a lot of it didn't come down to him. It was about what more could the staff have and what more could the players have. And it wasn't more for him. It was more for everybody else that he wanted, because he knows if the players are taken care of and if their bodies are right, mentally, physically, emotionally, academically, all that stuff, we're going to be a successful football team. And what I've been able to see, honestly, in the last 6 to 8 months is that this team is, right now, we're bigger, faster, stronger than we were a year ago. And I thought last year was one of the fastest teams BYU's ever had. So I think we're a step ahead, and I think a lot has to do with the resources Kalani got for our team.
Do you guys talk about expectations much? Because obviously they're extremely high.
We call that, I think Nick Saban used to say rat poison, PK. That's the rat poison on the outside. He said, that's just rat poison. But, there's expectations outside the building, but our players know what we want. Yeah, we know what we want, and we talk about it. But at the end of the day, it was a saying I actually got from Bronco all the time. He used to say, keep the end in mind of, like, why did we come out to practice today? Well, it's because what we want to have accomplished in December and January. Mm-hmm. And we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to go tell the world what we're all about. We can talk about it in our building, but that's the process, I think, of what Kalani talks about, being humble and hungry and, just going to work every day. And you chip away every single day, and that, those goals that you set for yourself are going to come to fruition if you just stay the course.
We've been here so long, and we've seen so many people like yourself. We remember when you played, and we remember when you're a position coach, and then your career progresses. And so, of course, we're impartial journalists, but it's just more fun when the local teams win. Yeah. But we can't lie. There was a clear gap between Texas Tech and both the Utes and Cougars a year ago. When you say this team's bigger, stronger, and faster than a year ago, I hear that and think the gap is closing big time, or it's closed, or maybe they've surpassed them. Am I crazy? Am I up in the night? Before I go blathering away on the radio, do you want to say anything about that? Because that's right where my brain went.
Well, I just think, you have to play the games to obviously see that. But from my standpoint of just from our team, I don't know what they're doing, but I know from our team, we're bigger, faster, stronger, more experienced than we were a year ago. Obviously, having a quarterback that's more experienced helps us as well. And so I just look at that. I don't know if the gap's closed. Maybe they've gotten bigger, faster, stronger too as well, right? But I just feel from where we were a year ago, from our standpoint, I think we've closed the gap on that. And yeah, they're the standard right now. We got to catch those guys, and they're doing some great stuff. And hopefully we have a chance to play them. And if we do, they'll be in a championship game. That's when we'll play them, because we don't play them in the regular season. So I would like to experience that game to see if we've closed in the gap.
We've often heard over the years for BYU football and for others that were in the Mountain West and WAC that the starters were able to compete with just about anybody, but the depth really dropped off. And so what you're saying now, and answer this question then, that the depth now is something that I don't know if you're satisfied, but you're happy, whatever phrase, whatever word you would use, as far as, because we know injuries are going to come.
Yeah. I was looking at our 3 deep today. I'm just looking at linebackers now and trying to get these guys all reps in practice. And usually you don't worry about getting your 3s reps in practice. Those usually happen at the end of practice. Usually, like we did today, have a set for the 3s. But now I'm trying to rotate my 3s in, because I think I don't want to say they're just as good as my starters, but they could go start for us and we would be just fine. And they have started for us. It's Ace Kafusi and Miles Hall. Those are our 3s right now, and those guys have both started games for us. And so to be in that position at the linebacker, and I think it's the same at D-line and DB and safety, I just think we're 3 deep, and all those guys could be starters for us.
Is that going to translate on special teams?
It should. I mean, I think the deeper your team is, the better you are on special teams. And that's why I think we've been really good on special teams the last 2 years. We were deep in those positions to where you didn't have to have your starters out there playing all the special teams. You still have them out there for 1 or 2 units, but that's where I credit our team over the last 2 years. We were deeper than I ever had been at BYU before in 24 and 25. And so I would believe it would go in that same direction as long as those guys are bought in, which I know Coach Anna will get those guys bought in to do it.
And so you mentioned, Coach Anna, you're not special teams coach anymore, coordinator. Are you going to be whispering in his ear, fake punt? What are you going to do?
I'll let him do whatever, because that was Kalani's he's pretty aggressive when it comes to that stuff. And so I'm excited about it, yeah. So I know Coach Anna, it's really just the mindset that we do as a team, so I'm sure we'll be ready for that stuff.
Yeah, but you can really green light it. When the defensive coordinator is like, we got this, go for it. If it works, great. If not, we'll clean it up. Honestly, we got it.
That was what was great with Jay. Jay was always ready for it. He knew what we were going to do and always had the defense prepared, and we'll be the same way.
All right. Thanks for a few minutes. Congrats on the new gig, and congrats on the Pebble Beach stuff. Good work.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
There's Kelly Poppinga. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.